board. And it took about a minute, but it felt like a lifetime before it finally flashed her score. And it said Nan Nan 2, rank second. And that was the moment I knew that I had just won the Olympic Games. I spun around and poured water all over myself and didn't even realize that I was so ecstatic. And that evening, they invited us to a huge arena where we walked to the front of the room, and there stood an enormous podium. And they announced the Olympic gold medalist first. They said, from the United States of America, Olympic gold medalist Nikki Stone. I stepped onto this podium, and I bowed my head as they took the medal and placed it around my neck. And I had chills up and down my entire body, and the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. And the other two girls received their medals, and just when I thought that I couldn't stand any more of the emotions building up, I looked over the thousands of people and saw 3 poles. And on the middle pole started to raise the American flag. And as I sat there and watched the flag raised, I thought to myself, this is what it's all for. It's all for this moment. The anthem started to play, and I couldn't help but have the tears well up in my eyes. I listened to my national anthem. Now, a lot of people ask me, would you be happy with second or third? And I really would be happy knowing I did my best. But when you win the silver or bronze, you don't get to hear your national anthem. I sat there and listened to the anthem this morning that was absolutely beautiful. And that anthem brought me back to that moment that I stood there on the podium. And I knew in that moment that the anthem would never sound the same to me again, and it never has. It always brings me back to those Olympic Games. As I stood there and listened to my anthem, I thought of that little pigtail, freckle-faced girl who made her own Olympic podium. And I stood on top of the podium and realized this is what it was all for. This is the sacrifices for. This is what the pain was for. The tears, the hours I put in were all for that moment there. I kept shaking my head because I couldn't believe that this was a reality. I actually had dreams for 2 weeks after the Olympics. And in my dream, they said, you know what? It didn't count. We need to do it over again. And every night I'd wake up and say, I knew it was too good to be true. But I'd wake up and I'd put my hand under my pillow and pull out my Olympic gold medal. I knew it was my medal, it was mine for life, and no one could take it away from me.